Hey everybody, what's up? It's Andrew from Andrew Martin Energy. And do you hear that sound? The shuffling of the cards. Guess what? I am super excited that I am offering Oracle card readings again. This is something that, to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure why I stopped doing them. I remember when I was a kid, I was like 15 years old, and I was reading the Whitley Strieber book, Cat Eyes. And in the back of the Whitley Strieber book, there was a page. And this was like in the 80s, y'all. This was before Amazon. This was before, there were no spiritual bookstores in my town. There was no shopping mall in my town. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. But I remember reading this Whitley Strieber book, and in the back of this book, there was a page that was a P.O. box where you could write to the Wiccan Society. I think it was the North American Wiccan Society or maybe the U.S. Wiccan Society. Anyway, I wrote to the P.O. box, sent them, I think there was like $5 or something like that. I had to send them a check for $5, send them a self-addressed stamped envelope. And 4 weeks later, I got a big fat manila envelope in the mail with all of my membership information in it. I can't for the life of me remember what was in that envelope of information except for something to do with tarot cards, specifically the Rider-Waite deck, which is the traditional old school tarot deck. Anyway, I somehow managed to get my hands on a deck of these cards. I don't know how for the life of me how I did it, but I was super excited. I had these visions in my life that I was going to be doing these magical, mystical readings. I honestly don't even know what I thought I was going to be doing with them because I had never had a reading. I had never even really heard of tarot cards. It was just something I was drawn to. Anyway, suffice it to say, when I got the deck of cards, I was super excited. I opened it up. I had all these visions of the mystical, magical time. And once I saw how complex it was, once I saw that tarot was basically a foreign language that I had to learn and study and really understand, I kind of lost interest. I remember looking at these cards and going, what is this dude with all these sticks and this hand holding a coin floating in the air and this woman with all these cups around her? I didn't understand it. And frankly, I wasn't interested in doing all the work. I have a huge amount of respect for people who dedicate themselves to the study and understanding of the tarot. I am not one of those people, at least not at this point in my life. So suffice it to say, at 15 years old, my very short love affair with tarot began and ended. Fast forward to like 2013, 2014, when I started doing readings full time. And I was really drawn to using cards. I think in the beginning, I used cards because I was afraid. I didn't really fully trust my gifts. And I thought, well, I don't really know what's going to come through or how. So at least if I have a card, a physical representation of something, then that will at least give me something to talk about and something that's valid and real in front of me that the customer, the client can understand and that I can feel comfortable with. Anyway, down the road, for whatever reason, I stopped doing card readings. I'm not sure why I did, but I am really happy to be offering them again. So I'm currently offering private one-on-one Oracle card readings. You can go to my website, andrewmartin.energy, if you want to read about that and book a session. And I am super, super excited to be coming back to a practice that I did in like 2015 or 2016, where every week I was offering a general reading for the week for the collective. So this is how it works. I draw 3 cards, one for Monday, Tuesday, one for Wednesday, Thursday, and then one for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And at the end of the reading, I will draw 1 card, which will be your opportunity to ask a yes or no question to yourself. And then the card that I pull will be your answer, will be your feedback, or will be your guidance. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to shuffle these cards a few more times to get them nice and activated. And then we're going to draw 3 cards and see what the cards have to say about the upcoming week. All right, here we go. So Monday, Tuesday, we have the waiting game. Now in this deck, anything that has a violet border denotes a spirit. So anything with the violet border, we're talking about spirit, we're talking about your connection with your team, we're talking about things that are still in sort of the transphysical, metaphysical, they haven't quite come into form yet. Now what I see on this card is a couple of things. Number one, I see in here that the tree already has roots, and not only does it already have roots, but it's starting to leaf out. We're starting to see new growth. So it's an understanding that while you may not be able to see what's happening yet, it doesn't mean that it's not already happening. I also see the number 2. 2 to me denotes a choice, right? It's yes, no, left, right, either or, chocolate, vanilla, whatever. And the number 2 is telling me that you've already made the choice. I think that the number 2 here is supporting the fact, and it's a confirmation that what you have been working towards is already beginning to pop up into your reality, or it's going to start popping up really, really soon. What I also see here is this figure of the person on the outside of the spiral. The thing I love about oracle cards is it's never the same reading twice. I could pull this card for 10 different people and it would be a different meaning for every single person. But one of the things that's really catching my eye here is this figure of this person on a spiral, right? You can see these concentric rings and they are slowly, slowly getting closer to the center. So what I feel here this is talking about is this choice, or the thing that you want to manifest, has come about because you have returned to yourself in a way. You are now moving towards the center. You are now moving towards the wish, the desire, and the dream, and you're leaving those outer rings. So when I get the sense of the energy coming closer and coming more internal, this is telling me that you have come back to self. You have come back to an idea or a dream or a desire that either you kind of put to the side a long time ago for whatever reason. Maybe you thought you couldn't have it. Maybe you thought that you weren't worth it. Maybe you just thought it was just never going to happen. And so you said, you know what? I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of wishing on stars. Nothing is happening, so I'm going to let it go. I feel like you've come back to this dream. I feel like this desire is now active again in your reality. And this card is a confirmation that when we are creating from our core, when we are creating from our truth, when we are creating from our self with the capital S and the understanding of ourselves as an eternal, infinite master creator, things happen very differently, as opposed to, am I creating for the ego? Am I creating because I want people to see how fabulous I am? Or am I creating because it makes me feel really good when people want what I have, or they validate me because, ooh, girl, look at your cute new outfit, or look at your cute new hairdo. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look cute, but if the only intention in your creation is that you just want to feel fabulous and you want people to look at you and you're looking for some sort of external validation, really, that is like the wobbliest, kind of weakest foundation to stand on. And what this card is affirming is that when you choose from your core, from your center, it is much more likely to happen in alignment with who you are. Also, there's one thing here that I really want to draw your attention to. And for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that I'm currently in the midst of building this flower farm dream, or creating an aspect of my larger picture, which will be a flower farm. And I'm looking out right now on the field in front of me, and I'm starting to see things really come back to life. Like the aspen trees are starting to leaf out. I'm seeing some of the wildflowers starting to bloom. And what this card is saying, and what I know to be true, is just because you're not seeing it on the surface yet doesn't mean there's not activity. Those trees out there have been waking up and have been coming back to life for a long time, much longer than you would expect, having looked at them, 2 weeks ago when there weren't really any leaves on them. So just because you don't see the leaf or the flower yet doesn't mean that your dream, your desire, your wish is not coming into form. So for Wednesday, Thursday, what we are looking at here is the balance card. Now in this deck, again, I'm using the Psychic Tarot by John Holland. This deck is based upon the traditional tarot, and anything in this deck that has a black border denotes a major arcana. In the traditional tarot, this card is the Justice card. What this card is telling me, and I love the number 11 up here, what this card is telling me in 11 is a master number, and I always see 11 as two pillars, right? It's the supporting pillars on either side. We could say the light and the shadow, the masculine and the feminine, the physical and the transphysical, however you want to couch those two opposing pillars. But those pillars also create balance and they create stability. And to me, those pillars show me there's a doorway and there's a portal. And when the balance card comes up, it says one of two things. We're either waiting for things to come into balance, for things to really pop, or it is the affirmation that the door is open, that things have come back into balance and the portal is open and it's time to walk through. Now, walking through the portal doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it all right away. It could be walking into the next step. It could be walking into the next phase. If you're looking at a project that's really long term, if you're looking at a project that has a lot of moving parts, it's about, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if you're looking at a project that's really big and really monumental and you're feeling out of balance, you're feeling out of whack, there's a couple of things to pay attention to. Number one, break it down into small size bites. You don't have to do the whole thing all at once. In fact, you don't even have to know what all of the steps are. All you ever have to do is start where you are, start small, start with what's in front of you. And in those times where you're just not entirely sure what to ask or what to say, you simply ask Spirit, show me the path in front of me. Show me the step that I can take now. You can also ask, are there any blind spots? Is there something perhaps that I haven't looked at? Is there something perhaps that I have overlooked or have brushed aside because I thought it was inconsequential? So this is a really, really good time to come more deeply into the self. Find that balance and then begin to proceed again. Sometimes these long-term projects just cannot be rushed. And if you are planning or building something really, really big, it is crucial that you make sure that the foundation you are standing on is solid and sure and clear. So pay attention to those little voices, those little doubts of like, oh, I don't know, should I do that? Or, oh, I thought I took care of that. Or what's that thing that I was, be very clear, be very specific, and pay attention to the details, because you cannot have balance if you're standing on a faulty foundation. So for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't like this card. As someone who has a million planets in Virgo and wants it to be done now, whenever I see the patience card, I get a little bit, oh God, okay. So patience, and again, we have this beautiful image of greenery. We have this beautiful lily that is sprouting from the seed in the hand of this being holding the seed. You can see there's so much at play. There's so much energy. You can see these two spheres that are creating like a little vesica piscis there, an opening, a portal for something to come through. And what I know, having just planted, a ton of flowers and plants, and with more hardening off outside, getting ready to go in the ground in the next couple of days, what I know is nature will not be rushed. There's also something very interesting at play here when we're talking about this idea of growth and patience and allowing the cycles of nature to carry you forward, working with the cycles of nature. Look, you're not going to try to plant heat-sensitive flowers in the middle of winter. It just doesn't make sense. So allow yourself to work with your environment. Allow yourself to work with the flow of energy and the aspects that are currently present in your life. Don't fight it, allow it. What I have realized, I planted a bunch of wildflower seeds last year. Some of those wildflower seeds were biennials. And a biennial is a plant that the first year you plant it, it grows roots and it grows foliage and greenery. You don't get a flower the first year. But the next year, those roots and that foliage that has been dormant for a year has had a chance to store up and save up all of its energy. And then the next year, it gets to flower like crazy. It puts all of its energy into these beautiful, bright, showy flowers. And just because it takes a little bit longer and it's not an instant gratification kind of thing, doesn't make it any less beautiful or any less enjoyable. So the message here that I'm getting for you is go easy on yourself. Be patient not only with others, not only with process, not only with, any hurdles or blocks that you may come up against. Be patient with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a big dose of compassion. Give yourself an extra serving of understanding. And when you feel like you're spinning out, when you feel like you're doing heavy lifting, when you feel like things just aren't happening the way you need them to, and you're feeling a little bit impatient, that is always a sign to take your hands off the wheel, step back a little bit, and just take a bigger picture view. Take a bigger picture and understand that sometimes it's going to take a cycle or two for the plant or the flower to actually bloom. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit longer for, there's a lot of plants out there that I'm looking at that have already sprouted and already have beautiful seedlings going, but it's going to take them a long time to mature. Now, I could fight that and make myself crazy and get really angry and uproot all of the seedlings because they don't have any flowers yet, or I could just allow myself to be patient with the process. And one of the things that I have found with patience is that when we allow ourselves to be present in each and every moment, especially when we are impatient, we gain so much. There's so much wisdom to be gained by allowing yourself to be called forward. Allow yourself to go with the flow and allow these cycles, these energies, and these frequencies to move through your experience and show you what's necessary. And frankly, there are times, this is one thing I have learned having been self-employed for almost 10 years now. Sometimes your job is to take a day off. Sometimes your job is to go sit in the field and, stare at the sky. Sometimes your job is to take a walk, watch Netflix, eat some ice cream, and take naps. Sometimes your job is to just do the things that make you feel good and make you happy and make you feel better. So just because you're not nose to the grindstone, blinders on, and just really trying to force it to make it happen, doesn't mean that you're not committed. It doesn't mean that you're not working. It certainly doesn't mean that you are not still invested, but it's the waiting game. Sometimes you got to wait a little longer, especially when you're working with big moving parts. Things come into balance eventually, but balance always starts within, so without. And when you are patient, you will be amazed at the dividends and the payoff. So now we're going to draw one card for a yes or no question. So the way that you do this is you can pause right now if you'd like. You just take a moment, take a couple of breaths. I like to just put my hand on my heart, kind of ask my heart, like, what is the most pressing question that I could ask right now? Or maybe you have a question on the top of your mind that you already know. So here's your yes or no card. Emotional loss. It's okay to have big emotions about what's going on in your life right now. It's okay to have big emotions about the changes or the insanity or the big, shifts that are going on in the world out there. It's okay to be emotional. Emotion is not a sign of weakness, and emotions are not suffering. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. How we so often, like fear or anger or frustration or sadness, these emotions that we would call bad emotions or negative emotions. And these emotions aren't suffering or negative in and of themselves. What creates suffering and what creates negativity in our experience is denying those emotions. When you allow yourself to grieve for the life that was, when you allow yourself to grieve for the life that can't be, when you allow yourself to grieve for who you once were, even if you've moved beyond that, right? We grow and evolve all of the time. In the Seth Speak books by Jane Roberts, Seth says spirit consciousness is always in a state of becoming. So there are going to be times when you have to shed things, you have to let go. And just because it's a positive thing, right? Even good change can often be stressful, can often be emotional. And when we are leaving a part of our life, even though we may be very well ready to leave it, when we leave a part of our life behind, sometimes that creates a sense of an emotional loss. So allow yourself to grieve. Allow yourself to process the emotions that want to be experienced, and that will bring the clarity. That will bring the answer. And that will bring the key to unlock whatever it is that you're asking about. So the short answer is, whatever it is that you feel is in front of you that you can't quite get an understanding around, pay attention to the emotions. Pay attention to how you feel when you think about that. Pay attention to the sensations in your body when you're thinking about it or moving towards it, whether positive or negative. How we feel about it is always the first indicator of what's really going on. So there's your Oracle card reading for the second week in May? Or third week? Yeah, second week in May. I hope this helped to offer some clarity for you. I will see you next Monday for the next week's Oracle card reading. In the meantime, you can go to my site, Andrew Martin Energy. You can read all about the services that I offer there. And if you are interested, you can book your own Oracle card reading. Thank you for watching. I love you. Bye.